Addiction is often associated with substances like drugs, alcohol, or nicotine, but behavioral addictions can be just as powerful, if not more so. Among these, the pursuit of orgasm, whether through sex or masturbation, is one of the most pervasive yet under-discussed addictions. Unlike substance abuse, orgasm addiction is socially normalized, even encouraged, making it harder to recognize as a harmful compulsion. However, the neurological, psychological, and social consequences of excessive orgasm-seeking behavior can be devastating. The orgasm, often viewed as the pinnacle of physical pleasure, can enslave the mind, disrupt life goals, and drain the spiritual and creative potential of individuals. In this video, we will explore why orgasm is a worse addiction than commonly perceived, how it affects the mind and body, and why mastering this energy is essential for any man or woman aiming for greatness. To understand why orgasm is a dangerous addiction, we must first understand what addiction is. Addiction is a compulsive need for and use of a habit-forming substance or behavior, despite knowing its harmful consequences. Addictions hijack the brain's reward system, flooding it with dopamine, the feel-good chemical, and altering neurochemistry in such a way that the brain begins to crave repeated exposure. Whether it's gambling, drugs, or food, addictions are compulsive, escapist, and ultimately enslaving. The addict is not in control. The addiction is. Now consider the orgasm. It gives the highest natural dopamine hit available to the human body. It creates a chemical cocktail in the brain and body that can rival the effects of hard drugs. And unlike heroin or cocaine, it's legal, socially celebrated, and widely promoted in media, relationships, and even health industries. When an individual experiences orgasm, the body releases an explosive combination of dopamine, oxytocin, prolactin, and serotonin. This neurochemical surge creates a temporary state of euphoria and satisfaction. But what goes up must come down. After orgasm, dopamine levels crash, and the brain enters a state of depletion. This crash can lead to feelings of fatigue, depression, anxiety, and confusion. Over time, especially with repeated orgasms, especially through porn or masturbation, the brain begins to crave the high again. Like a drug, tolerance builds. What once satisfied now barely scratches the itch. This cycle, arousal, orgasm, crash, craving, is a hallmark of addiction. In men, this is even more intense due to the ejaculation of semen, a substance the body considers precious and energetically dense. Frequent ejaculation weakens the body, mind, and spirit. One of the reasons orgasm addiction is worse than others is because it's not only socially accepted, but often encouraged. Society mocks abstinence, glorifies hookup culture, and teaches young men and women that sexual liberation equals personal empowerment. This conditioning starts early through movies, music, advertisements, and peer pressure. What makes it worse is that orgasm addiction is hidden behind the mask of normal. A man who masturbates every day is not viewed as an addict. He's just being a guy. A woman who chases orgasm through multiple partners is seen as sexually liberated. But behind the scenes, these individuals are often drained, spiritually disconnected, and lost in a constant search for fleeting pleasure. Unlike drug addiction, which has visible signs, weight loss, financial ruin, legal trouble, orgasm addiction is invisible. The damage is internal. Lack of motivation, anxiety, porn-induced erectile dysfunction, shame, spiritual numbness, and loss of purpose. Orgasm is not just a pleasurable event. It's the release of life force energy. In Eastern traditions, particularly in Taoism and certain yogic practices, semen is referred to as jing or ajas, the essence of vitality, creativity, and even longevity. When a man ejaculates, especially frequently, he is literally throwing away his life energy. The body invests tremendous resources in producing semen. Zinc, magnesium, testosterone, protein, and vital minerals are lost with each release. This is why ancient sages advised conserving semen to build mental clarity, physical strength, and spiritual depth. Orgasm, in this sense, becomes a thief. It steals from a man's future. It gives him a momentary pleasure, but robs him of sustained greatness. The man who can transmute his sexual energy into purpose becomes unstoppable. The man who is ruled by orgasm becomes a slave to his lust. Let's imagine two men. One wakes up early, exercises, meditates, and works diligently toward his goals. The other spends his time scrolling for porn, masturbating daily, and constantly thinking about women, dates, or sexual validation. On the outside, they may appear similar, but one is climbing the mountain of mastery, while the other is stuck in the mud of his desires. Orgasm addiction leads to procrastination, lowered self-discipline, and chronic fatigue. It makes men soft, emotionally, mentally, and even physically. The hunger for success, challenge, and discomfort disappears when the brain is fed constant cheap pleasure. Even in relationships, orgasm addiction makes a man needy. He becomes obsessed with sex, and when it is not available, he grows irritable or distant. He begins to view women not as sacred beings, but as sources of pleasure. His love is no longer real, it's transactional. Pornography has weaponized orgasm. Never before in human history could a man access millions of women in the palm of his hand. Porn is free, endless, and increasingly extreme. It rewires the brain, destroys natural arousal, and leaves men numb to real intimacy. Young men today are growing up with their first sexual experiences being with a screen. Their dopamine receptors are fried before they've even kissed a real woman. By the time they are 25, many suffer from erectile dysfunction, not from disease, but from overstimulation. And yet, society calls us normal. We've traded sacred sexuality for lust. We've traded human connection for pixels. Orgasm is no longer a celebration of life. It's a drug drip feeding lonely hearts across the globe. Freedom begins with awareness. When you realize that orgasm is addictive, that it enslaves you, you can begin the journey of reclaiming your power. The practice of semen retention, or non-ejaculatory sexual practices, has been promoted for thousands of years by sages, monks, and warriors. These practices teach discipline, inner peace, and transmutation of sexual energy into higher states of being. Few key principles for breaking the addiction: abstinence or retention. Stop masturbating or drastically reduce frequency. Begin with a 7-day, then 30-day, then 90-day retention challenge. Replace the habit. Engage in creative outlets like writing, training, building businesses, or learning skills. Cold showers and exercise. These train the body to handle energy and build willpower. Meditation and breath work. These help calm the mind and allow energy to circulate rather than stagnate in the genitals. The orgasm is a powerful force, one of the strongest on earth, but it has become a silent enemy, seducing humanity into comfort, mediocrity, and spiritual sleep. The world is dying from comfort. Men are drowning in lust. Be the one who rises. Be the one who remembers. Orgasm is the worst addiction, not because it's evil, but because it is disguised as good. Unmask it, overcome it, and become free. Subscribe to the channel, and share the video to help others.